Jay, for being here. It's great to have you from Salt Lake City, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and I know that Zartico is celebrating your 6th anniversary as a company this week, right? So going back, that's June 2019. I'm sure you had no idea what was coming about 6 months later, so congrats to you guys.
It was not on our card.
So Nicole, I'm going to start with you. I want to talk a little bit about what Zartico does and how it's evolved over the years. So from what I understand, Zartico uses movement data to really understand how people interact with places. And I think that's a really interesting phrase right there. But it's not just about like reporting that data or monitoring it. It's about pulling insights to help people make smart decisions and grow their strategies. So I want to talk a little bit about the idea going from tracking data to creating those insights. And I feel like this is a really relevant topic, just given all the uncertainty right now in travel, especially with the economy, with politics, et cetera. So yeah, tell me about that idea first.
Absolutely. So thank you. Yes, it is our 6th anniversary, so very excited to have been here for 6 years. And if we think back, right, everything has evolved so much in those last 6 years. Zartico started off with dashboards and retrospective reporting. And that strategy is typically what's been used in travel and tourism when we think about place-based tracking. But that strategy showed its cracks fairly quickly. And there was a time period where we tried to adapt with it, but it became clear that a new solution was needed. So naturally, as a tech-first company, we leaned in fully and said, okay, how do we design data, right, movement data, as consumable intelligence built into your workflow to create greater value for our customers and empower their decisions? And so we took a step back, and that's what we did. We looked to solve for that. So initially, what we did was we brought in AI via our filtering processes. We have some, I won't share those with you all today, of course. They're proprietary. But we do have those filtering processes. We then built for advanced segmentation, and that gave us the ability to start to sort consumer behaviors. From there, we brought in what we call high-resolution spatial, so full coverage mapping. And then we started looking at AI beyond just the technical application and innovation, but how do we start to apply it now within our own workflows? So all of this accelerated us fairly quickly in the last couple years. So we've really gone from reporting visitation to now decoding behavior. And so product output-wise, it also exposed the cracks that exist within traditional BI, right? It's documenting.
That's business intelligence.
That's right, business intelligence, right? So that's that platform that you're bringing data sources in and you're visualizing it, but all you're doing, you're documenting, right? It's static. And so now we look at product outputs that allow us to be dynamic and predictive and adaptive. And so when you build this type of data into workflow in that way, you super drive your marketing decisions to your point. You have the ability to influence measurable ROI, view that customer journey, and build growth strategies that also adapt in times of uncertainty is what is needed.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you primarily have been working with destinations.
Yes.
We'll get into this later, but you're expanding. So
yes, exactly.
Later. But yeah, Jay, moving on to you, I want to talk a little bit more about marketing specifically. We're in a pretty challenging era, I would say. I'm sure a lot of people in the room here would agree. We're just having to do a lot more with a lot less, right? Budgets are tight. Teams are stretched thin, and I feel like a lot of marketers just really, really have to justify every dollar they spend. So talk to me about how you're helping your partners really think differently about how they are spending on the media and marketing using data and AI. And then second part to that question, what does a healthy balance look like between those AI insights and then that human role in decision making?
Fantastic. I love this question. Certainly, we live in a bit of a paradox in this industry that as travelers, we have this abundance of choice. The airlines, the hotels, the online platforms have all made the world smaller and more convenient for us as travelers. However, if you're an advertiser, you are now competing with quite literally the entire globe. It isn't just 12 other brands of toothpaste on the store shelves. You've got the whole world. So what we've been looking to do, as Nicole said, is really drive decision-making. And how do we simplify that decision-making process, both through traditional means as well as AI, so that as an advertiser, one of the key things that we surface is your cost per acquisition. Among the campaigns that we've been helping to track, we're seeing among markets a 10x difference in the cost per acquisition. So you could spend $20 to get a customer from market A or $200 to get a customer from market B. Having that level of precision, granularity, and agility in the optimization stage helps you more effectively use your marketing dollars. And of course, marketing is both an art and a science. So surfacing the information in a way that allows experienced marketers to make those judgment calls quickly and more efficiently without having to pour through reams of data is really important from the usability of the tool, and that's where AI can help accelerate us.
Great. And I know, I just want to talk a little bit about data integrity. That is a really big part of what Zartico does. It's all about high quality output of data, eliminating bias, making sure it's accurate, of course. So, thinking about this, what can your partners do with your data and your insights that you pull from them that they can't do with, other data providers? Like, what's the difference?
First off, we look at the data that we acquire, that we license, is raw inputs. We're in Manhattan, great food scene, just like the Cisco food truck pulls up in front of all of those different restaurants. The alchemy that happens in the kitchen really makes the difference as to what arrives that the server brings to your table. So we look at this multi-pass process of improving, cleaning, normalizing the data so that we can, at the end of it, come out with decision quality data that somebody can make reliable, trustworthy decisions on, because we know that incorrect decisions are very expensive for advertisers.
Great. And so I think, we're talking about this, but we have a video here that Nicole's going to walk us through to really help us bring it to life.
Yes, absolutely. So this video here, this is a visualization of what data can do when you pull it out of that business intelligence tool or out of a dashboard. As I said, it becomes dynamic and transformative. And this is an example, real world NBA All-Star game. This was hosted in Salt Lake City. And they look to the movement data intelligence to help inform their on-the-ground setup of events, right? That's like trying to fill the gap of fragmented planning right alongside of a clear view into the actual journey. So retrospectively, we looked back at past events and basically mapped out what folks did within the destination on the ground and how they experienced mapping that consumer journey, like we've heard so much about today. So this then informed high traffic zones, it informed security, parking, et cetera, but it also informed the messaging, the creative, everything that they put out ahead of time to get folks to come to the event. So now during the event, what you're seeing here is you're seeing these different lights as the movement that's happening. And within this journey, one of the interesting things that we recognized was folks needed bars. They needed pit stops to go to continue to spending money on the way.
And this is in Utah.
And this is in Utah. So if you know Utah, we have a shortage of bars there. So this study, pre-work, led to the first pop-up bars in Utah's history. And if you squint, you probably will see Jay and I at one of them, I'm sure. So this is how we used it predictively ahead of time. Post this data that was then analyzed, and what you saw in this visualization was the movement went way beyond Salt Lake. It expanded throughout the entire state into 4 border states. It ended up being the highest lauded event for the NBA All-Star Game in all of their history.
Right, and I really, really love this because I feel like it's kind of the next phase of the live tourism trend, the sports tourism trend. Skift has been talking about that for a few years now, and that trend, it's not going away. It's only getting bigger. And destinations need to know, who's coming, how they're spending, where they're going to plan for it, and really up the ante for the traveler experience, and then hopefully attract bigger and bigger destinations.
That's right. And they'll be using the same type of science to prepare for the 2034 Olympic Games. So very exciting.
Very cool. So we've been talking a lot about destinations, but I know that Zartico is expanding to new verticals, attractions, entertainment, resorts, skiing, vacation. So talk a little bit about that.
Certainly. In my prior role, before I founded the company, I was Associate Director at the Utah Office of Tourism. And so here managing this very large state tourism industry that employed 100,000 Utahns off of survey data that was a year old. Concurrently, machine learning, big data, and all of these things were taking off. So this gulf between what we were experiencing in the public sector and what the private sector was doing was huge. And so that really became the genesis of the company, because DMOs, as you probably know, don't have a cash register. They don't own the point of sale. So they don't have that rich first-party data that the gentleman from Hilton was talking about earlier. So our data sets, in many respects, serve as a proxy where there's an incomplete or fragmented customer journey. We can help fill in the gaps. So be that anticipating what the impact of an event's going to be, or for someone like a ski resort, you've got third-party resellers, you've got online. If you're a hotelier, you probably have OTAs and other intermediaries. We can help to fill in the gaps. But then even if you have good first-party data, we can help show what happens outside of your walls. Just like Nicole showed in that video, you might be a ski area and seeing, oh, there's a lot of cross-visitation to this spa. Maybe my product is not good enough in the spa, because I can now start to get visibility into where I fit in the destination ecosystem. That enhances competitiveness, marketing opportunities, as well as product development.
Yeah, I love just like talking about the idea of place. I think that is super interesting. We actually have a minute left, so I'm gonna ask you guys a surprise question. Yeah, just what are you most excited about, in the coming year or two, as far as, how you can work with the places you work with this technology? Like,
I'll answer.
Sure.
No, absolutely. I love those quick questions. Right, we're most excited about, Jay and I get to put our brains together quite often, and we just keep thinking about, again, how do we continue to embed this data consumably into that decision-making workflow? So what we start to see is, as we put it in there, right, you're all experiencing overload. So we get it in just right, and we're seeing, as Jay mentioned, these cost per acquisition going down almost overnight, or accelerating their marketing budgets almost immediately, and really being able to connect the true customer journey, right? When we start to really know what our guests and visitors actually do, it gives us a transformative way to be precise and bold with our advertising.
And on the technology side, I'm really bullish about AI and what that will, where that will take us. I think we're at this beginning of a long process. We have been through this with digital. We went from paper tickets to the evolution now of the Delta booking app, where you can book your flight, change your flight, pick your seat, reward your miles, all of that stuff all the way through. We're going to see a same turnover of all of the components and all of the infrastructure in the travel and tourism industry, but built AI native. And so we'll have these really imaginative outcomes that will take us to really wonderful places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you want to chat, Nicole and Jay will be here for the rest of the event. You can also scan the QR code to learn more. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.